I'm trying to read this one. I think it says, why is it that the contributions made by Muslim scientists has not been something today? Attributed? No. Something. What was the word? Who wrote it? Who wrote it? Where? What's the word? What did he say? Attributed. That is the word. Okay. We did not talk about one of the areas that I usually go into because I was afraid of the time. We have to be very careful of our time today. One of the things I enjoy talking about is the science that came from the Muslims at the time of Spain. Spain was ruled by Muslims for 750 years. My ancestors actually came from there at that time. We don't know much more about them other than their name. They were the teachers and professors, and their name was Ustaz. Today it's pronounced Estes, but that's where our name came from. This is not a joke. My great-grandfathers were from Spain, and they migrated to England, to Kent, and they lived there before they came over to the New World in 1667, and they didn't want people to know they were from Muslim background, so they claimed their name was de Este, and that they were actually from Italy, from royalty. But genealogy has proven different since then, and we know we really were from Spain, and that was Estes became Estas, and then it became Estes. Anyway, who cares about that? The point we're trying to make is that 750 years Spain was ruled by Islam, and at that time they really began to take literally some of the teachings of the Quran, not allegorical. Let's explore and let's find out what it will do. One of the things that they were very enthralled with was the possibility of finding a way to turn rocks into gold. That's what they really hoped to be able to find some way, somehow, to have some kind of amorphosis of changing a rock, a plain rock, into gold. And they experimented with many different things. And that's alchemy. If you want to look it up in the dictionary or in the encyclopedia, you can find about that's where it came from. They never were successful, obviously, but there were a lot of other things that they did discover that we know today. One of the biggest works in medicine, one of the first encyclopedias of real medicine, was developed at that time by those Muslims. And it was referred to for centuries afterwards from the West to learn to build the science of medicine we know today. And there are other areas as well that they studied in: mathematics, geometry, astronomy, and they had actual observatories that they built to study the stars and the movement of the stars. They're still there today. You can go and look at it if you want to, in Spain. Unfortunately, their love for gold outweighed everything else, and eventually they began to fight each other and set up little kingdoms. They began killing one another until Allah took all of the barakah or blessings away from them, and they wound up losing out to the Catholics who came over from Italy and took over Spain. This was pretty much the story of how King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella took over in January of 1492. While we're on that topic, I'd like to share with you something about the discovery of the New World. Again, it was my own ancestors that probably had something to do with it, although we can't really say which, who, or whatever, but at least from that time, because it was Christopher Columbus who in July of the same year, it was about 6 months after the time that the Sultan of that time abdicated and gave everything over to the Christians. And then King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella came in. A man by the name of, actually his name wasn't Christopher Columbus, he changed it to be that, hoping to appeal to them with this nice name. They said he was actually a Jew, and he took this nice Christian name, hoping that that would help him get the financing he wanted to go explore this new world. How did he know about this new world? How did he know? He claimed the earth was round. How did he know the earth was round? Did he have it in a dream? And if he was so sure, how come he wanted to go out toward the water? Why didn't he go the other way? Because, I mean, there's a lot of ground. You could do a lot of walking and not fall off the edge of the earth, you know. You walk all the way to China, right? But he wants to go out, and he's telling them, we can go, we take these ships and we can go that way. Everybody says in the books today that Christopher Columbus discovered the world was round. But he didn't. They also say he discovered the new world, but he didn't. The proof. Well, it's real easy, actually. All you have to do is look at the facts. Nobody believed him from the new people who took over. They thought he was nuts. They all said the world was flat. So they wouldn't give him a nickel. And they sure weren't going to give him any boats. The only one that listened to him was the Queen, Queen Isabella. She gave him 3 ships, right? Did she give him 3 brand new ships? How many of you know that one of them was sinking and they had to bail water all the time? Yeah, they were old ships. They were the same ships. They were Spanish galleons. They were old ships because, remember, the Catholics had only had it less than 6 months. Where did they get old ships? It was from the people they conquered. Nobody ever talks about that. Another fact. The charts that he had, he couldn't read because they weren't in his language. They had to have somebody read the charts. What language were they in?